So the next story is the Care Quality Commission finds GIDSs, or Gender Identity Development Services, inadequate. So this sort of extends on everything that has been happening in the UK in regards to GIDSs, which are services that primarily work to support trans youth in their transition, whether that be social, legal, or medical. And they were being investigated by the Care Quality Commission, which found a number of interesting things and noted them to be inadequate. Specifically in regards to, let's have a look, the number of assessments a person is going through. To quote page 10 of the report, quote, another concern raised by the CQC findings is the length of assessments, although the service specifications state that there will be between 3 and 6 assessment sessions. Of those young people who were referred for medical care, nearly 1 in 5 people underwent 25 or more assessment sessions. It was not stated how much time passed between these sessions. So this goes back to like the previous video, which was Rosa Dawn lying about, affirmative care and everything in the UK. They should be having, they should be having 3 to 6 assessments. They're having 25 or more in some cases, in a fifth of cases, which is ridiculous. Like, as much as we fight for the GIDSs in the UK, there's a lot of disagreement about them. There's a lot of, it depends on which specific therapist you get at the GIDS. This is Tavistock and Portman. People say that there's some that are trans supportive, and then there are some that are trans hostile. And as we can see, the trans hostile ones are just dragging things out, and it is denying trans people access to healthcare. Necessary, life-saving access to healthcare.
As someone who's gone through medical transition, I can tell you don't need 25 assessments. It would be a very rare case where someone might legitimately need 25 assessments, and they would have to be on a knife's edge about it.
Yeah.
You don't need that many assessments.
And what's more is that stretches everything out, and the result of which is, as noted in Access on page 16, the service, quote, the service was difficult to access. There were over 4,500 young people on the waiting list for the service. Young people often waited over 2 years for a first appointment. That's ridiculous.
2 years is the difference between reaching the age of medical consent and reaching adulthood.
Yeah. I talked about the wait periods in my video on Rosa Dawn, and the thing is, I kind of had to patch things in because they didn't distinguish whether these were wait periods for adults or wait periods for youth. It seemed to be in relation to youth, but I wasn't certain, and now I can see that this is youth. Youth has wait periods of up to 2 fucking years for people, and all that time they're receiving zero support. The report also noted that there is absolutely awful observation of the youth and how the process is actually impacting them and all the gatekeeping, etc.
So someone's saying people will die waiting for an appointment. Absolutely, yeah. Especially youth, because with youth going through puberty, you feel like the clock is ticking and every day is doing more damage, much more than if you've already completed puberty. I imagine you would.
No.
People will absolutely die because of this. Not exaggerating.
One thing it also notes, I've now got specific statistics on the number of people assessed by the service who are then referred to endocrine clinics for medical treatment. Page 11 states that, quote, 28% of young people assessed by the service were referred to endocrine clinics for medical treatment, end quote. That's just I just thought it's good to get out there because, again, people like Rosa Dawn argue, they're just trying to get everyone through and medicalize everyone, and that's just not the case.
Finjer is just saying, I knew people who died waiting for an appointment, so there you have it.
It is absolutely fucking horrific. Uh, I've been talking about the way that the medical system's been gutted, because of course the whole NHS is being gutted, but gender services are specifically being gutted.
Thanks, Tories.
And yeah, you know, we've been fighting to like defend the GIDS, not because it's this brilliant thing, but because it's like the only pathway for a lot of trans youth. Unless they go private, it's the only way they have access to these things. So, you know, and there have been
And
calls put out by people like Gender GP for like a new system and all this. But it really does show just like the desperation of everyone, whilst also showing that no, the issue is not the over medicalization of trans youth. That is absolutely garbage. Like 3 to 6, somehow turning that into 25 sessions is fucking ridiculous. Like, I
and
think.
like these aren't sessions that are happening every week or two, like if you're going to therapy.
Like,
These sessions usually are months apart.
because and it's also like traveling distance. Like Portman,
Mm.
Tavistock and Portman's like the only one in the area. Like the whole south of England, I think, if I remember correctly. So you've got to travel there. You can't use the Scottish service from what I've seen with the whole debate because the court ruling was just the Court of England and Wales ruling against puberty blockers for youth, and Scotland were like, no, we will not be taking, anyone from England. So again,
Oh,
it's just absolutely a mess of a situation, and it does show that things need to be worked. Like these resources need to be made more accessible. The narrative that like like kids these days are just going to these clinics and popping pills and all this just flies in the face of reality. And yeah. Is there anything else you have to add on that?
fuck the Tories.
So yes, they were found inadequate. There was 5 qualifications, specifically the aspects of being responsive to people's needs and being well led that were found to be inadequate. The being well led aligns with the whole thing that inside there's a disagreement of how to treat trans youth. There are those that are keeping to like the 3 to 6 assessment sessions, and then there are those who are deliberately dragging things out because they have a transphobic agenda and they want to do that. You know, the few people that have left and say, oh, you know, it's like they're pushing them through and medicalizing them. Those are the people who are like forcing 25 sessions of assessment, and it's just, yeah.